Hey there, welcome or welcome back to my channel, Diana and the Book Hunt. For today's video, I've planned to do a recommendations video where I want to focus on sports romances. I absolutely adore sports romances because I love athletes and I love romance, so those two kind of go hand in hand together for me. I think that what I love most is the fact that when we have athletes involved in a romance story, they're typically very determined, very disciplined. Some are not, but anyway, for their job or for their career, they need to be very determined, very ambitious. And I just like that within characters, and the fact that they have something going on for them, which is making them famous, which kind of brings with it different types of struggles and conflicts within the book, also intrigues me. So yeah, I absolutely adore sports romances, and what I've picked out today, I've picked out 7 different books that I want to recommend to you. And to make it kind of interesting, I've picked out a variety of books which focus on different types of sports. We have a hockey romance, an American football romance, soccer, basketball, ice skating, MMA, fitness, and also a surfing romance. So I think that this is a nice variety of books that you can pick out of. If you haven't read them yet, then you can definitely try one of them out. If you have read them, then let me know what you thought of them. They are some, or at least some of those are favorites of mine I'm going to mention, which I absolutely adore. And let's just dive into the books and see what I've picked out for you today. So for the first book, I want to focus on a hockey romance, one which I just recently finished and I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It's by Odette Stone and it's called the series is called the Vancouver Wolves Hockey Series. And then the first book, which was the one I gave 5 stars to, is called Secretly. I absolutely love that book because it has a lot of things going on for it. It's not just an ordinary romance. We have at the beginning of the book a plane crash. We have our main heroine Rory, who is absolutely deathly afraid of flying, and then by chance her plane crashes, and the person sitting next to her, Max, is actually her hero for the day because he kind of saved her, and he also talked her down while the plane was crashing, and he took care of her after the fact. So he was really a hero to her, and she kind of really bonded with him. Additionally, they spent the night together, so it kind of made sense for her that she felt those feelings for him, this attachment towards him. And what turned out actually is that he is the new player within the hockey team that she needs to manage because her father, who owns the team, is going to be passing down the role over to her. So we have a bit of a forbidden romance because she's the boss, he's the new player. Additionally, we have his story where he has been transferred from another team to this team because he had a bit of a situation there. He got into a fight with an ex-team player of his. Something has happened, and this is kind of a secret within the plot which we need to unravel, and it's something that kind of brings a lot of angst to the story and builds a lot of character for his backstory, for Max's backstory. So yeah, I absolutely adore this book. It really checked all of the right boxes for me. I absolutely adored it, and I definitely recommend it if you love hockey romances. For the NFL story, I want to focus on a Mariana Zapata book, and no, it's not The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. I know everyone adores that story, and I do too. But when I think about The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, I always think of Zach, who is the side character within the book. I absolutely loved him in that book, and I really hoped that he would get a book of his own. And I was so happy to find out that he did. The book is called Hands Down, and I absolutely adored it. There's just so many things going on in that book that work well for me, and if you like a slow burn, if you like a second chance romance, if you like a sports romance mixed with a foodie romance, because the female lead, Bianca, she has this YouTube channel called The Lazy Baker where she's doing really quick recipes, and it's kind of really popular, and there's a lot of baking going on within the book as well. You're going to love this story. Zach and Bianca, they were childhood friends. They had a falling out or some kind of a rift between them, but then something happening to a close person of theirs brings them back together. And it's just an epic romance. I absolutely adore that. Any Mariana Zapata fan here has read this book and probably loves it. I hope at least that everyone loves it. And if you haven't picked it up yet, you definitely should. So I did not do this intentionally, but I picked another Mariana Zapata book for my next pick because it's an ice skating romance, and it's the only one that absolutely worked for me. At least I haven't read that many ice skating romances, but this one definitely is at the top. I think it's also one of my all-time favorite reads. If I think about a top 5, it's definitely going to be up there somewhere. It's called From Lukov with Love. Ivan is the best book boyfriend that I can ever wish for. We have two people who are kind of rivals or enemies, I don't know how to call them, who need to work together to compete together, and it's just an amazing book. I don't know what to say. There's a caretaking scene within this book that absolutely breaks my heart and then mends it and fills it with love, and there's animals within this book which I absolutely love, and we have a cinnamon roll hero who is with this tough exterior but a very mushy interior. And if you haven't picked this one up, you definitely should, because the main heroine is a badass female. The main hero is an absolute cinnamon roll, and the book is just worth 10 million stars. If you haven't picked it up, please do. I can't go without mentioning a Kennedy Ryan book within this video, because she has written the best basketball series in my opinion. It's the Hoops series, and the first book, which is called Long Shot, is my favorite out of the 3. It's an absolute gem of a book because it's a very emotional read. It's not just a regular sports romance. It's definitely worth the time to pick it up. We have August and Iris, who have this epic love story where there is a third person involved within the story. There is a child involved within the story. Be forewarned that there are triggers within this book that you need to look up if you haven't yet. Iris basically is in a relationship when she meets August, but the relationship is abusive, so she is kind of trying to figure out a way of how to get out of that relationship, and August is the person who is there for her and tries to help her with her situation. This book just deserves 10 billion stars. I don't know how to say how much it means to me, because there are specific topics within this book which are very close to my heart, and I just can't say enough about this book. It is emotional, it is beautifully written, and I think that anyone who hasn't read it yet is missing out. You definitely should pick this book up, because it has an epic love story, but also a very important additional message about the courage and the strength of women within toxic relationships. So definitely pick this one up if you're looking for a more emotional read. The soccer story that I've picked for this video is by Liesse. It's called Everything for You, and it's part of the Bergman series. We have Oliver, one of the younger Bergman brothers, who is a soccer player, and he gets the chance to play with his idol on the same team. So we have team player romance as well. It's a bit of a forbidden situation as well, because they work together, and we have an age gap romance. Oliver is younger than, I think his name is Gavin, if I'm not mistaken. And then we also have a male-male relationship as well, and Liesse just does representation so well in all of the Bergman Brothers series or books that she has written. It's just, everything is done so well. She is doing chronic pain within this book. We're talking about kind of also the stigma of gay relationships within sports as well, and it's just done really, really well. We have a cinnamon roll hero, kind of a sunshiny character. We have a grumpy character as well, with a very tough exterior but a mushy interior as well. So I definitely recommend this book. It's definitely worth the time. The next book focuses on MMA and fitness, and it's by Karla Sorensen. It's the fourth book within the Ward Sister series, and I think they actually can be read as standalones, but I binged them, so I think it would be best to read them in order, but if you pick them out as standalones, I think they work as well. This book is called Forbidden, and it focuses on Isabel, who works at this gym, and the gym gets taken over by her idol, who is an MMA fighter, or an ex-MMA fighter. His name is Aiden, and he has a daughter, so there is a single father trope, which I absolutely love within books. And it's just an amazing story because we have them working together. She is a fangirl, but she hides it very well from him because she doesn't want to get embarrassed by this. In the meantime, he is kind of standoffish, not standoffish, but kind of closed down because he has a daughter and he doesn't want to get into a relationship too fast. Because it would impact his relationship with his child. It's, I think, a fairly quick read as well. I think the audiobook was not very long, so you kind of fly through it. At least I did. I really liked this one the most out of the four Ward Sisters series. And I haven't read too many fighter or MMA themed books, but this one really worked for me. I think because Isabel is a really badass heroine, and I think because I kind of got to know her within the previous books, I was really looking forward to her story. But yeah, it definitely works out well for me, and I think I gave it 4 stars, so it's definitely worth the read. The last book for this video is The Surface Romance. I specifically picked this book to read last week to see whether I'm going to like it so I can include it in this video, and I'm so stoked that I actually did like it. It's called Try Easy by Jill Brashear, I think her name is pronounced. I didn't know anything about this book besides that it's a surface romance, but I was really pleasantly surprised by what I encountered when I read it. It's not a very long book. The audiobook was a couple of hours. I managed to finish it within a day. It's set in the 60s, and we have Lou, who is a hobby photographer who goes on a 2-week trip to Hawaii, and she gets picked up by these 2 guys who are the friends of the host where they're going to be staying. And one of those guys is Keone, who is a local Hawaiian surfer. He is kind of a big name out there, but because I think it's the era in the 60s where local Hawaiians were not really encouraged or invited to participate in pro competitions. Even though he was the best out there, he wasn't successful yet in terms of prizes or winnings. But yeah, he's basically the absolute perfect surfer guy, Hawaiian build and looks, and he's captivating, just to say the least. And when Lou encounters him, she's immediately spellbound. The only problem is that Lou actually has a very serious relationship back home, and she's very torn about her feelings for this new guy that she just encounters. And she's like, also, even if I didn't have a relationship, how am I going to proceed? I'm going to be here only for 2 weeks, and then what happens? And Keone, from his side, he has been burned before because he fell in love with a tourist before, and he was dumped very harshly. So he was like, I'm not gonna do the whole tourist thing again. But both of them have such a special connection right away. This is one of the books where I didn't mind that they fell in love so quickly. I mean, typically insta-love and insta-lust is something that I absolutely hate within books, but in this setting, I don't know what it was, because it was a holiday type of romance, or I don't know what it was. Maybe the connection was really well written between the two. It just worked for me. And the fact that there is cheating in this book, I have to say it beforehand. So spoiler alert here if you're picking this book up. Even though the main character cheats on her partner, the story progresses in a very interesting way. You just have to read it to find out. And the surfing scene, the whole atmosphere within the book of how surfing is presented is just absolutely wonderful, very beautiful to read. So I absolutely love this story, and I definitely recommend it if you want to read a surfer's romance. Thank you for sticking around and seeing my recommendations for sports romances. I definitely want to do another video like this one where I'm going to be focusing on different sports, different books, different genres, because it's really fun to do. If you have any sports recommendations for me or sports romance recommendations for me, please leave them down below in the comments, and let me know also if you've read any of the books that I just spoke about, what you thought about them, and whether you enjoyed them as much as me. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I hope to see you very soon in the next one. Happy reading, have a wonderful day, and